How are you folks from around the world? Thanks so much for joining us for this special Wall of Reds that is coming past the news of the European Super League coming out. I have a load of wonderful guests that will be joining me very shortly, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the subject before we bring them all on and the kind of the rants begin, because this is one of the most disgusting and awful days in football history. Now, obviously, people will say, Hillsborough and Heysel Stadium and stuff like that, and Bradford Stadium are obviously awful things that have happened, but this is self-made. This was created out of greed, out of just the bottom line and not caring about us. And that's just it. Man United have fans from all over the world, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, all around the world, who care nothing more than for the club that they love, that they've raised on it as a religion. The closest thing I've ever had to religion is Manchester United. As you know, some of you might know, I'm a filmmaker as well. I've made 6 short films, 2 of them dedicated entirely to Man United. And but over the last couple of years, I've found myself just not basically falling out of love with Man United over what has become football. And this was predicted. We had a video on this in November, a few of us. When it was talked about then, we knew this day was coming, and it doesn't make it any easier, the fact that it's actually happening. And the fact that our club is associated with it is horrible. And it's a genuine feeling I have. If this league goes ahead, I can't see myself supporting Man United. I'm not supporting them in this decision, but I have close family members that are season ticket holders for League One, League Two clubs, especially Cheltenham Town. If this happens, these clubs could be gone. We're not here because we're Manchester United fans. We're of course we're Manchester United fans, but we're football fans first. If you are a football fan, this is one of the worst things you can possibly dream of. There was more than 12 clubs in the world. The top 6 obviously made no sense. That's already thrown out the window. West Ham and Leicester are not included in this, and they're in the top 4 or top 5. I'm not sure if West Ham dropped out. So it's horrendous. It's awful. It's disgusting. There is going to be, if this goes ahead, which it will go ahead, it mightn't be now, it mightn't be in this current climate, even though I think it will. It could be 4 or 5 years down the road, but this is happening. And when it does, there are going to be generations of football clubs gone. I'm not talking about League One or League Two. They're going to be gone in the next 5 years as this happens. 10, 15 years down the road, the likes of Premier League clubs, the likes of Burnley, even though they have new owners come in, these clubs that aren't part of this top 6, apparently, which are the best 6 in the world, even though 2 of them aren't even in the top 6. One of them's barely in the top 10. One of them drew against Arsenal today. Drew against Fulham today. And they're seen as the biggest teams in the world. It's horrible. It's horrendous. And to be associated with a club that's doing it actually makes me sick. Because it's been the longest time coming that this is not about fans anymore. The club isn't about fans. They don't care about us. They don't care about us. I'm not talking about the players. Players might, but the owners across the board of these clubs don't give a shit about us. And it's really coming home to roost now. And football as we know it from this moment on, once it's come true, is effectively dead at a top level. The Champions League means nothing anymore. Whatever the Super League is, the MLS, you can't get relegated. You can't get promoted. You just get a trophy, a participation trophy, and you get lots of money. It's been hard to follow United and a lot of clubs because of this, because of the way it's gone. It's gone about money, entirely about money. But when it's effectively destroying smaller clubs who people build their lives around, it's wrong. It's inherently and morally wrong and despicable and disgusting, as I said. I just felt I wanted to have a couple of minutes just to get my thoughts out in the beginning before I get the lads on and we have a nuanced conversation about it. But I will want to hear anyone here that thinks it's a good idea. You will get a voice here. We are all about giving voices at All for United, no matter if we agree with it or we disagree with it. So some of the guys here might disagree with what I'm saying now. Absolutely. And if you're in the comments and you think it's a good idea, please get your thoughts across because I want to see it. And I know people are saying that crooked FIFA, it's actually got nothing to do with FIFA. FIFA don't want this to happen. UEFA don't want this to happen. This is all the owners. It's all the clubs. And it's because they know that they can get money out of us and they know that they can lynch us for anything they want. And the book stops with that. We stop giving the club money, then these things stop happening. But if this goes ahead, football is dead. And that's it. But like I said, and keep your comments coming in, guys. Thanks so much. Please like and subscribe to the channel and please share it around. I got loads of wonderful guests coming in right now. Regulars and one already. And also, we will be giving live. Apparently, there's an update coming at 9:30. We'll be giving a live reaction to that, whatever that news is. So please stick with us. This is a very special, in all the worst sense of the words, a special showing of this. But you're going to get a live reaction from real fans who love nothing more, maybe outside of their family, than this club. And this is what we're being left with. We've been shafted. So I'm going to welcome them on now. And thanks so much again for joining, guys. And it's going to be an interesting one. But here we go. Sorry, guys. Yes. So this is it. Okay. This is the world that we're living in now, where we discussed this European Super League was happening in November. It feels like it was always inevitable, no matter how much you said it wasn't. We thought that it would fall apart. It just isn't. So Ben, I'm going to come to you first for your reaction. Then we'll go round table as per usual.
Mate, where to begin? It's just maybe sick to my stomach, mate. You know, I can't. It's not stuffing out of me. I was, you know, obviously it was talk of every, you know, there's been talk for years about a European Super League. I remember as a kid back in the mid-90s, there was a talk of a European Super League even back then. You know, the big European clubs going into the so-called Super League. But obviously, it never happened, and there's always been talk throughout the years, you know, at certain different points, a European Super League. But this is now today's sort of news is like the first proper real sort of indication that a possible European Super League could possibly go ahead when you find out that 6 English clubs, 3 Spanish clubs, and 3 Italian clubs are apparently signed on the dotted line for this sort of a competition. If you could call it a competition without no relegation or no promotion or no whatever the fuck it, I don't even know what how they would play a European Super League scenario out. It's just football clubs being greedy, mate. At the end of the day, you know, it's owners that don't care. It's owners of football clubs that don't get, like Gary Neville said, don't get the domestic leagues. They're not here. They don't show their faces. But I suppose you can maybe argue that Man City, their owners, obviously go to matches, you know, show their faces around Manchester, which is fair play. I'm Roman Abramovich as well, but that guy stayed away for quite some time as well when things were going tough at Chelsea. But you know, they just don't care. All they care about is money, and the one group of people that will suffer most out of all this is the fans. Nobody has turned, not one person, not one owner of the football clubs or one person that's involved in this whole idea for a European Super League has turned around and gone, oh, I wonder what the fans may think of this. Maybe try and gauge a reaction. But we know that the owners are cowards. Our owners are cowards. They won't even come and sit in front of us and talk to us, even though they've promised us for years and years and years, oh, we'll sit in front and talk to the fans. We'll have an open dialogue. Never happened. They don't care. And it's those fans that get shafted time after time after time after time. If it's not a European Super League, it's Sky Sports, BT Sports. It's those match-going fans that get screwed the most. Kick-off times, changing days, putting us on 8 o'clock on a Monday night to go down to Brighton on a work night.
Yeah.
Fucking vast miles travelled. We've been shafted for years, mate, and I'm getting sick of it, you know. And if it's not Sky Sports and BT, and I thought I was thinking I agree with everything Gary Neville said, but it's kind of hypocritical of Sky Sports when they were one of the biggest people that sort of pushed for the Premier League, and they're in it for the greed, they're in it for the money. They don't care about match-going fans. They only care about people that subscribe to Sky Sports. That's all they care about. They don't care about me. Whoever else might go every single week to a match, you know what I mean? And I just think it's about time that serious thought was given, not just to fans worldwide that consume the product on telly, but what about us match-going fans? We're the most forgotten about group of fans in worldwide football. Nobody cares about us. The club doesn't care about us. I don't know, mate. I'm just so frustrated and so annoyed about this. It's like Manchester United is my first love, and to be fair, it my only love until my son was born, man. You know, I have loved this fucking football club for 28 years of my life, man. You know, and I just feel like this is just torn a big chunk out of my heart. You know, this news just made me feel absolutely sick to the stomach, and it's wrong. It's morally wrong, mate. I just don't get it. It's just greed, mate. And football, this football club, Manchester United. Look where Old Trafford was when they first moved to Old Trafford. It was at that point the largest industrial estate in the whole of Europe. It was for the working class person to go and watch that team. The Busby Babes were built around to entertain the working class people. Sir Matt Busby told them lads to go out there and entertain them people, get them off the edge of their seats because they work hard for every single penny of that of the money that they spent on their ticket. And it just ripped the fabric of the club out. Our football club, our owners, just shows you how they don't care about our history. They don't get Manchester United. And I know the brief was don't go in on our owners too much because it's obviously other clubs involved as well. But for our case, for Manchester United, it just makes me feel sick, mate, and it just shows you how little they care about this football club.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And no, you have every right to go in on the owners. It's just we want to try avoid just it's more than just them. Do you know what I mean? It's not them. It's spearheading them with Liverpool. And as kind of and brilliantly put, Ben, by the way, that was absolutely exceptional. And you can smell the passion and how much is breaking his heart off you. And like the amount of uproar that has happened since this got announced. I genuinely thought when I saw this breaking news, I was like, well, this isn't this, like, it was one of the things I never thought would actually happen. Do you know what I mean? Even though I knew it would happen, I never thought I would always hope that wouldn't. So the fact that it's here. But sorry, Kai, we'll go on to you now, my man. How are you feeling?
Hi everybody. So okay, I'm gonna give a kind of a different view because I'm Zimbabwean. So the way that I digest the Premier League or digest football, which is a little bit far away from me, is also a little bit different. So I can't really feel the deep emotion sometimes of people that are closer to it, but I can only understand. But I'm gonna try and relate it to what I experience as well. So what I find is that the hypocrisy is startling for me because even now you've got UEFA and you've got FIFA trying to say that they don't support this, but they're littered with corruption all over. There is a new corruption scandal every time, and the actual corruption is certain individuals stealing so much money from funds which could go to the people or to the smaller clubs or to grassroots football or to all of that. So there's also something fundamentally wrong there already. So and also all these clubs are also owned by guys who own many other businesses, of which football sometimes isn't even their main focus, but then they just look at what's going to give them the money, and that's what they go to. And that's also something that we opened ourselves, I mean, not ourselves, but what football opened itself up to, all these organizations allowing any businessman to come in to buy every club, to do this, to do that, and then we're surprised by their decision making process, which actually doesn't have football as their driving force. And that also is a little bit of a mad thing right now. And I also feel like all of what's happening is what also is happening in real life. You've got all these businesses making money driven decisions which are killing our societies, and I feel like we might do it a great disservice by really separating the wider issue, by only focusing on football specifically. But what they're fundamentally doing is what every business is doing every single day. And it's I mean, right now I'm thinking of something and I'm like, hang on. In fact, you have clubs like, for example, I'm not surprised because this is how these big clubs move. Barcelona went and signed Martin Braithwaite from, what was it? Leganés, I think.
Yeah, or
Leganés
Levante, something like
were,
that. Yeah.
exactly. Leganés were in relegation. Barcelona signed him through some random clause of which whatever, of which Martin Braithwaite was never. They couldn't even dip into their own reserves. They couldn't look into the people sitting on the bench. They couldn't look into La Masia, the so famed La Masia, to get somebody to come and cover because they lost one striker, you know. And that sort of mentality is something now which I'm looking back and I'm saying, but this type of behavior doesn't surprise me, because a lot of the decisions are so money based, and like, you know, it was rightly said before that it's ripping the soul out of football, you know. And look, I don't even know, you know, where, how to feel, or where we go from here, but I feel like this is a direct reflection of society. Everything that's happening in football, we always surprised by it happening in football, you know, the racism. It's exactly what's happening in society, but then we're surprised when it's happening on a football field, and when the fans are, you know, are doing it. They're just reflecting. The businesses are the same. They're just reflecting, and you know, yeah. um that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
That,
No, 100%. And a perfect analogy for it as well, because like you were saying, it's almost like we feel football is this purity that can't be touched by the outside world. It's a beautiful game. It's supposed to be there to distract us from real world problems, even though anyone who's supported the club like we all did, it's caused more problems as of recent years from being shit. But still, it's part of it. It's part of like, like you it's a thing about like watching with your mates or chatting about with your mates, and it's how you connect with people. And like some of our best memories, like, it's being brought to football by a parent or by a guardian or whatever. And it, like, all these things are fabric of our society. That's why it is our religion. It is a huge thing for us, you know, whether it's going to the pub to watch the match, or whether it's going to the game live, or whatever way you watch it. It was something that brought people together. And it even, like, immediately, and the smallest thing, if you're meeting someone for the first time and you're chatting and you're not talking about, you talk about football, they're a Liverpool fan, you're a United fan, you're immediately buzzing off each other. You kind of know everything about that person in 1 second, and you like, there's a connection already there, all through football. And then you have this, which is just destroying everything, and it's making the world more disconnected than it already is, and they just don't care. They just don't. And Chuki, sorry, I'm coming to you now. It's a very difficult thing to talk about, but we're all making wonderful points. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, likewise, and thanks for that intro. I haven't seen you this passionate since we beat Guardiola last time.
Ah, baby.
So I totally feel you. Yes, I don't live. I'm not in Manchester, so I don't attend games regularly. But I come from a family that is very close to the football culture, and where your father, your uncle, or whatever, you sit around and watch games or go to games. Doesn't have to be Manchester United. It's really about the center of why do people love football. And I'll also give a different take here. I would say the body didn't just drop dead. Right, this shouldn't be a surprise. There's been cancer in this body for years and years and years, and fans and consumers alike have kind of turned the other cheek just so they can get their product. And product is the big word here. Is a product. That thing you do with your son or your daughter, your uncle or your cousin in the backyard or in the fields or wherever whatever patch of space you can get to kick around a ball is not the same thing on TV. It's not. It's what we see on TV it's a caricature. It's just mimicking. It's a business product to mimic what our desires are. And if football is your desire, you probably would have been out of it years ago, when corporations started branding players and basically controlling where players could sign. If you're Adidas versus Nike. Or when agents start getting, millions and millions of dollars and pounds for no reason, and third-party agents and letting state owners take over football clubs, and you basically use the clubs for sports washing, letting oligarchs buy football clubs I mean, the list goes on and on. The over commercialization of football is been there for a long time, and FIFA has no standing. I agree with the last remarks we heard. FIFA has no standing here. They just as corrupt. This is basically FIFA versus commercial ownership. That's corruption versus business venture. There are no saints here. It's FIFA thinks it's a power grab. Yeah, it is, because this product has been on sale for years and years and years, and no one has done anything about it. They had a chance to do something about it with their financial fair play, but they didn't give it any teeth. And it just keeps on creeping. With financial fair play, you stop clubs from being you basically mitigate the distance from the top to the bottom tier clubs. That's what financial fair play was put in place to be, but now it's just like a rubber stamp. It's just ridiculous. I personally do not like it. It's hurtful, but I do understand from a business venture that this is a game of stakeholders and stockholders, right? These owners just want to basically repackage a product and get optimum returns. Same thing your cell phone company does every year. Same thing your car company does every year. Same thing your cable company does every year. They're doing nothing different, right? Yeah. And no one should be surprised. I'll be astonished to find out that a lot of people are surprised that this is the end game here.
Yeah.
This is something that we should have. If we wanted to stop this from happening, we should have cut it off from the past, right?
I agree. And you're dead right. You're dead right. We're after getting Ben's in the comments. Just came in with one thing for consideration. All in, United just get under 50 million, not including prize money for the finish, just for competing image rights and TV broadcasts for being in the Premier League. Rumor has it DAZN will offer 3.5 billion to broadcast the Super League alone. That's just under 200 million per club if 15 teams enter. That doesn't include prize money, competing, or image rights. And then he finishes off with pure greedy bastards.
And on top of that, Joe,
yeah,
I think DAZN or whatever that company's name is, they're also going to compensate FIFA with money as well.
Yeah, but hold on. We have someone backstage, and it's a special episode when we get him on a Sunday night. Regular host and of United, the wonderful Kartik. Kartik, thanks so much for joining us. I think since you're after coming in, we'll go to you first, Kartik, because I know you're mad to speak, and then we'll go James and Stuart then before we do a round again when we get past half and we get more information. But can we get your thoughts on what you're feeling?
As I said, I did a little brief video myself, but I'll say it here too because I think it needs to be repeated. It's a joke. There's fans of smaller clubs, taking digs at the big six clubs. Their supporters saying, you should have seen this coming. Your club's a disgrace. You're advocating this and you're supporting this, but they don't seem to consider the fact that we don't want this either. No matter whether you're supporting one of the big six clubs or whether you're supporting one of these smaller clubs, it affects you in some way. Now, the reason why I say that is these big clubs that are going into this Super League. Well, number one, they're going against some of their own histories here. Look at Manchester United as a football club. Look at Liverpool as a football club. They base their whole existence on the existence of their fans, their connection to their fans, their connection to their roots, their connection to their cities. You'll never walk alone. That holds a weight in Liverpool. Manchester United is based on the people surrounding that club. It's a people's club. The game is already changing from what was a working class sport into whatever the fuck it is now. This next step is further alienating people. So the big clubs, they have that. And the reason for that is because look at the owners of these people and look at the owners that are part of the Super League. Look at the owners of these clubs that are from the foreign countries. They don't know what it's like to be in this country. They know to an extent. They don't know what it's like to be part of this club, the history of these clubs, the history of these cities. They know nothing about it and they don't care about it either. These people throw their money in and hope for the best with their team. So the Glazers, let's take the Glazers for example. They'll chuck in 200 million, 150 million a season and go, get me top 4, get me top 3, and get me the Champions League money. That'll do for me. Are they going to keep doing that, investing that amount of money and saying, get me this paycheck? Or are they going to look at the Super League and go, hang on a minute, 350 million euros a year just for staying in that league with no threat of relegation, with no difference in positions in terms of money coming in and the TV revenue? Which one are they going to choose? We all know the Glazers. We all know what kind of owners these are. Look at the people that are involved in the Super League. That is the Glazers times 6. There's 6 of them in there. 6 of them that are going to go, you know what? Yeah, I'll take that paycheck, and then we're gone. So that's where they're ruining it. For the smaller clubs, it affects you too. Do you think Leicester's Premier League campaign, where they won the league, do you think that happens without the top 6 in there? Do you think it even matters as much if the top 6 aren't in there? If United, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea aren't in that season and aren't underperforming so much, we don't give Leicester that much importance. If this Super League happens and these big 6 teams leave the league, and let's say West Ham go and win the league next season, do you think their fans are going to be asked? No, because you've picked Wolves to the league title. They're not going to be asked. So you're taking away the dream. You're taking away the dream that football brings of one day that could be us lifting that iconic trophy, because now it's just a case of, well, they're not here anymore, so maybe I'll get it. It's taking away the thrill, it's taking away the emotion, and it's taking away, most importantly, the fans. The fans are taken away from this. It took them 1 fucking year, 1 year of no fans in the game, no fans at stadiums, to decide, you know what, these numbers on the spreadsheet, they're not coming in at the minute. How the fuck do I get it in? Oh, look over there. Right, okay, I don't need these lot. Bring it in. Do you think season ticket sales, it's nowhere near as much as the money that they're going to get in the Super League? That's why. We're just numbers. We're just numbers on a spreadsheet, and they've replaced us within a year. It took 1 fucking year of football without fans, and they've destroyed it. That's me done.
You know, Joe.
I know.
Just in addition
Sorry, go ahead,
in
Kai.
terms of, you know, I'm just to agree with Kartik there, just about the last year. I mean, you can even see it in the smaller things about how these organizations won't cancel any type of schedule. They will pile it on the players because the TV rights say that they need to see these games. Like, they'll make players play 5 games in 2 weeks and continuously do that. They'll make them travel for random internationals for no reason. And you can see those small things. Everyone is just so greedy. Everyone just needs, you'd rather see players play tired and concede stupid goals and go down injured than actually see them in tip-top condition, because it's actually not about, there's nothing nice about it. It's all negative. I have to agree with you guys. It's from every level. It's ridiculous.
Have you guys spoken about who's actually part of this board of people in the Super League? Right. So I'll read it to you right now. Chairman Florentino Perez, dickhead. Vice Chairman Stan Kroenke, dickhead. Vice Chairman Andrea Agnelli from Juventus, dickhead. Vice Chairman John W. Henry, dickhead. Vice Chairman Joel Glazer, dickhead. They've picked all the knobheads in football and they've given it to them.
Are we even surprised?
No.
No. Sorry, Vin's come in with thanks for continuing the pun gag to give us a bit of a joke here. This is not a Vin for everyone involved in football. Bloody furious. Absolutely, Vin. Thanks so much. James, I'll go to you now, my man, for your reaction. Because I think, James, you are the youngest person here, and Stuart is the oldest, I think. So we're getting this is like not even me slagging. It's just we're going from kind of the newest perspective of football, basically, kind of being born in the age of where it has been the super clubs, it has been money, and then we kind of afterwards we'll have a look where Stuart was raised when like basically every club was equal. 1989's Steaua Bucharest won the Champions League final. Won the European Cup, whatever it's called then. But anything can happen. So James, we'll get to your reaction on this first.
Yeah, well, I'll go from that angle first. I suppose I've never watched United when they've not been under the Glazers, so I've not really known anything different. So the thought that there was a fully functioning board of people in charge of Manchester United is almost incomprehensible to me. So this isn't a surprise. I suppose I didn't know how bad the Glazers were until sort of mid 2010s because I wasn't obsessed with football in the way I am now, but it's not a surprise that the people in charge of United, given the decisions they've made over time about, you know, money over footballing things, it's not a surprise. I think when we heard that it was a possibility earlier in the season, I don't think anyone really thought, yeah, there's no way this happens. Come on. But yeah, just because I think everyone so far has made incredible points, and I don't really think I can build on them because they were that good. So I'll go from a more anecdotal sort of view, because, you know, whether people like it or not, I'm not from Manchester, but I support United because I fell in love with the club when I first started watching football. That's just what happened. But being from the Midlands, I was sort of raised on the football, on going to the City Ground in Nottingham most weeks with my dad. I've got my uncle that would take me to Pride Park to watch Derby. I've got, you know, cheap tickets to Notts County where I'd go with a group of mates every couple of weeks as well. And that sparked my love for football even more. Instead of just watching United week in, week out, I'd get this broad selection of the entire footballing pyramid. And you're not going to get that anymore, are you? Like, even the club I work at now, Batesford United, they struggled to get through COVID. I've got no idea how they managed it, but as soon as this gets approved, they're gone. So I'm out of a job in that sense in the footballing world. But that's not going to be the case in the future, is it? I'm going to have kids hopefully one day that I'll raise to love football, and I'll probably raise to love United, but I won't be able to take them to watch games if we don't live in Manchester. I won't be able to, you know, tell them this is what football was really like. And I think I've never known what true football was really like. I'm in the I was raised in the Premier League era. I'm completely missed the days when anyone could win the league, anyone could go down. But, you know, it's an awkward paradox you've got, isn't it, between sport needing funding to grow and sport getting too much funding to where it collapses. I think we've gone way too far the other side. The money in football is crippled the game, and it will continue to until it's dead. So it's not a surprise, and I'm thankful I was born when I was, because I got to grow up surrounded by football, whereas people aren't going to be anymore, are they?
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
So just quickly, I know James touched on that he won't be able to, you know, go to games if he doesn't live in Manchester. I live there, and I won't be stepping foot in Old Trafford until this is done.
Absolutely.
Until United pull out of it and release some kind of statement that says, you know, we don't want to be in this, or we don't want to be involved, or the Super League folds completely, I won't be going into Old Trafford again because I can't support it. And you know when you know something's fucked? Boris fucking Johnson thinks it's fucked.
I don't like agreeing with Tories. But Stuart, I've been looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this in a morbid sense that I have been, because you are the old guard. You've seen the worst of United. You've seen the best United. This, for me, is the worst United if this goes through, as we've discussed before. But what's your initial reaction to reports this is happening?
Something like this has been on the card since 1983. And you can lay the blame squarely at Tottenham Hotspur's door for this, because they floated their company, or Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, in 1983. That's when Joe Lewis became involved in them. Next was our great club. We floated in 1991. And when you float a football club, publicly listed, you are open to anybody who's got money to buy shares in you, and eventually they'll either they'll buy enough shares to take you over, and then they can do with it what they will. Hence, that's where the Glazers come in. The Premier League have got a real problem with this, because I don't kind of buy into the Chelsea, I don't buy into the Tottenham, I don't buy into Arsenal, and I don't buy into Man City being a problem to the Premier League. But the loss of a Manchester United and Liverpool is huge to the Premier League. And so that's the first problem that the Premier League has got. And they realise without Manchester United and Liverpool, it becomes a pointless task because of the global appeal of those two clubs. The second one, owners will be delighted because they'll make a huge amount of money. Players will be really interesting on this, what the player's standpoint will be, because there are certain elements that potentially could stop players playing for their countries, which then gives FIFA a problem. because if you don't have a Ronaldo, you don't have a Messi, you don't have a Bruno Fernandes. I could go on with a list of players that play for these top clubs, not performing in the World Cup. Then FIFA are going to lose billions in sponsorship. So FIFA are going to have a problem. And the same with the European Championships. If, as we read it, UEFA aren't involved in this. So that then leaves the other side for players. And the other side for players is monetary. This joke of a league will probably see the first £1 million a week footballer if they want to be involved in that. And then there's the fan. Because your away trip to Burnley is no longer. It's Milan, maybe on a Wednesday evening, and it's Barcelona, maybe on a Sunday evening or a Sunday. So you've got to fly or drive or take a train. But it's a lot further away than it is for local clubs. I played football since I was 5 years old, and I came back 10 minutes ago from a kick around. And unfortunately, there's this air of inevitability about greed. And we've said it for years. There's no footballer worth 100 million quid. There's no footballer worth 350 grand a week. It just doesn't stack up in any economics, either modern or, through the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. It just doesn't stack up economically. And Sky were maybe a second catalyst of this in the early 90s, I guess, with the Premier League birth. But the problem is the real fans, we got 3 season tickets in our family. We've had them for 30 plus years. And what you'll find is that because Manchester United got 650 or 750 million global fans, the UK fans will be alienated because your away trips will have more foreign fans than English fans, because not everyone that goes into Old Trafford on a Saturday afternoon, what used to be at 3 o'clock, can afford to travel 2 or 3 times a month to, abroad. It just isn't possible. And the times that we're living at the minute with COVID, you might have to pay for certain things, COVID passports, etc. It just doesn't stack up. However, these clubs have been quite clever because they've gone and got a £6 billion pounds worth of backing with JP Morgan, an investment bank. And so I think at the end of the day, however we feel about this, as Ben quite rightly said, we are nothing to these clubs. We don't have a voice. We don't care. Where can you send me my 550 quid season ticket money, please? That's all that we are. Can you go into the mega store and can you buy your shirt, please? That's all that we are. And when you look at the types of clubs from the English Premier League, they're the highest revenue earners. And that's unfortunately all it boils down to. And kids that are loving watching Manchester United now, they're going to have to kind of adapt and evolve into a more European way of football rather than a good old English game of football, because you're not going to have this English game of football anymore. This lion spirit will be drained out of fans, unfortunately. And I just don't see it's going to happen. But the negotiation behind is going to take a long time to sort out, because everybody's got their hand in quite a large trough, and there's no way FIFA we're going to relinquish billions in sponsorship. There's no way UEFA are going to relinquish billions in sponsorship to allow 12 or 15 elitist clubs rule football. And so it's a sad day, I'm afraid. But as I said, it's been coming since Spurs floated. So
Yeah, well said, Stu. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts. We have the official statement in, and Cardigan is up, and he's going to read it now. So we'll get that, and we'll have a reaction to it.
It's a statement from the European Club Association. So they're
Okay.
the ones who, I think, they're the body that represent all the European clubs. So they've said, in light of today's reports on the subject of a so-called breakaway league, ECA, as the body representing 246 leading clubs across Europe, reiterates its stated commitment to working on developing the UEFA club competitions model with UEFA for the cycle beginning 2024, and that a closed Super League model to which media articles refer would be strongly opposed by ECA. ECA would refer to the position adopted by its executive board at its meeting last Friday, 16th of April, namely that it supports a commitment to work with UEFA on a renewed structure for European club football as a whole post-2024, including proposed changes to the UEFA club competitions post-2024. With ECA's support, UEFA's executive committee is being asked to endorse these commitments at its meeting on 19th of April, along with pursuing efforts to reach an agreement on the future relationship between ECA and UEFA. The ECA Executive Board will be convening over the coming days to take appropriate decisions in light of any further developments. So what's happened is they've had an emergency meeting of some sorts, it sounds like, and the 12 clubs that signed up weren't part of it.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like, anyway.
Yeah.
That's not the statement that everyone's waiting for.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at there is a bit of a smoke screen.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to put a statement out, and we've got to try and start appeasing football fans globally. It's a bit of a nothing statement, really. If you listen to it again, it's a bit of a nothing. So I'm just reading it now. It's a bit of a nothing statement. You know, John Henry, that absolute clown, who owns Liverpool, he has always wanted to build a sporting portfolio. NBA. I mean, Temi and Hammer could probably tell us a lot more about this, but he's wanting to build a sporting portfolio, clubs in the NFL, the NBA, the National Hockey League, Liverpool. He's gone and got 500 million quid out of some basketball player, hasn't he? I'm not quite sure.
LeBron,
LeBron James, and it just is pure greed. And yeah, the Glazer. I know we don't want to go Glazer bashing, you know, and I don't, and I won't Glazer bash tonight. But the reality of modern day football is business. It's not football anymore. That's the problem.
Yep.
The reality is business, and that's why I started my little piece about Tottenham floating.
Yeah.
So, hey, Joe, can I ask
Yes, of course. Go ahead, Chucky.
A general question for the entire, all the Reds here is, who do you think are the custodians of football? Right?
Like, who own football, do you mean?
Like, who are the custodians of, when you say the soul of football, that football is my soul of love, football is a religion. Who are the custodians? Is it the organizations like FIFA, UEFA,
the clubs,
or is it the fans? Is it the fans that pay? And so that's the central question here. It's like
the fans would like to be custodians. We all think we are, and Ben will tell you when we walk through the gates of Old Trafford, we believe that's home. We believe that's our place. You know, you're sitting, my block of N24. I know everybody around there, and we laugh and we get upset together. But the real custodians of football now aren't us. We are so far down the list of what club owners need and require. Manchester United have proven they don't need the 3 million revenue that they get for every home game. They just don't need it.
Yeah.
I'm
going to make a prediction of what's going to happen in the next coming years, right? I think that eventually this will happen. And no matter if it doesn't happen now, like I said, it'll happen 10 years, 15 years time. And there won't be home and away matches. It'll all be neutral grounds. It'll all be in the Middle East, in America, in Asia, because that's where the biggest markets are now. And that's effectively what it'll do. It will be basically the only time. Sorry, what I'm just about. The only time you'll get games at Old Trafford, it would be like an equivalent of a pre-season friendly, when they come home for like a month or so and play a couple of games there, and then go off and then play out there. I think that's eventually what it's going to get to, because they don't need the fans, and they might as well go to a place where they can charge huge amount of money, but where they want to be seen. The fans want to be seen there rather than care about it.
Sorry, I've just seen a comment. I'll let Kai speak first, but I'll read the comment afterwards. Go on.
Oh no, it's fine. You can read it first.
Yeah, no, I've just spotted this comment from Ugly Bell. What makes you think the grassroots will still thrive with ESL? No, it won't. What? No.
No, I know.
Grassroots' money funnels through from the big teams up in the Premier League. So if they're no longer there, where does the money come from? No, it won't thrive, and it's not thriving now. So I don't know why you say still thrive. It's not thriving now. Grassroots football right now is an utter shithole. That's what it is right now. Sorry, Kai, go on, say what you want.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I mean, they tried something similar, right? Didn't they try get Real Madrid and Barcelona to go and play a El Clasico, a real league game in the US? And everyone was also like, no, like what happens to our fans? And they were like, yeah, we'll transport some fans and we'll fly them over and create an atmosphere over there. And then, you know, the question now was like, yeah, but what about the team that's traveling? What happens to their gates, or if they have to try and move some of these games in the future and just do random La Liga games in the US, what happens to the gatekeepings of the original teams and all of that? So I mean, they did try to do, and I think I agree with Joe that they're gonna try and do some dumb stunt like that, like try make matches in Asia where they can get like maximum returns or whatever. But it is, it's pretty ridiculous when you actually have to actually have to look at it.
We Kai, we had the Premier League had talks about a 39th game.
Yes, I remember.
It was going to be abroad. The problem with modern day sport is, and the NFL have grasped this. They've realised they can make a huge amount of money putting 4 or 5 matches on in the UK.
Yeah.
The biggest potential fight this year is likely to happen in Saudi Arabia between 2 British boxers, because there's not enough money that they can generate here in the UK.
I have to just get on this comment that Ugly Bears brought in, and it's because it's really annoying me. And ESL should increase players' transfer fees. That should trickle down the grassroots. Okay, first of all, trickle down economics doesn't exist. It doesn't work. It never has, never will. And second of all, if you're saying this will rise player transfers, fine, to 500 million. Okay, Neymar costs 240 million, and there's clubs across England that are dissolving constantly across the world that are dissolving. We're losing football teams now. With the amount of money, with the huge amount of money that's in the game now, you get more money. You get 12 teams that are seen as the biggest teams in the world that are playing themselves constantly, and you lose that revenue from their own leagues. You're going to see proper established clubs that are top Premier League clubs that are going to go. That's a fact. So I'm sorry, everyone's getting the voice, and I'm putting it out there. But Ugly Bear, you're talking,
and guys, even like there's even because I lived in South Africa for most of my life. And even then, you kind of look at some of these organizations like FIFA as well, and then you think to yourself, does this even make sense? I mean, we had the World Cup in 2010, so they gave a whole lot of money to try and to improve the infrastructure and all of that, just for that period of time, with no succession plan and with no future plans after that. They did the same thing in Brazil, where they left people so poor because they built so many things. They built hotels where people didn't stay afterwards. They there was it's just such an ugly cycle, where when you take a step out of football, then you can see that football is just part of the business. It's part of this ugly business, that's being passed around. And like I said before, these businessmen, the same ones, they've got other shady stuff that they're doing somewhere else. And Manchester United and Liverpool and whatever is one of those other things which they're looking to do in order to to further their own finances. So it's I think the first thing that people need to start to look at is the owners. The leagues allow anyone that can afford it to be owning things, and that's what takes away from this whole family spirit, like Stu was saying. I can feel you on that, like that stuff gets removed when when you've got that type of separation, when you just have an owner that comes in You know, Chelsea fans are super happy. You know, they came in, and the owner just spent everything and did everything, and everyone was happy, right? But to what cost? To what end? And now we're seeing that we're now going into that sort of a stage whereby, you know, these clubs are now taking advantage of that sort of a thing. So I think they need to start to look at the owners first.
Do you know the interesting thing, Joe? You mentioned transfer fees. I think transfer fees will come down because Neymar will never ever be sold again. Never be sold. He was 240 million. So a club's going to have to invest almost $500 million with his contract to get him. It's just never going to happen. You know, the likes, and this is the problem with Erling Haaland at the minute, and his proposed transfer to wherever. You know, clubs have got to look at the long term. They may be stuck with him because he might not ever get a resale value. I tell you now, Mino Raiola will be going nuts about this. Absolutely nuts. And I think transfer fees will go down, and it will hurt other clubs that rely on. You know, Dortmund are a club actually that rely on buying cheap and selling high.
Yeah,
it messes the entire ecosystem. The entire ecosystem has been taken and flipped upside down. So everything you are used to, like all the normal things the domino effects, they will have different connections now. The biggest people that are at, that are really vulnerable here are the players, and it's a pity. Let me just go off one quick rail before. The clubs have played this perfectly. This wedge they've driven between fans and players. They've been sowing that culture of. I mean, we're on social media, we're abusing players. The clubs love this, right? They like this decentralization of player power. Because if you had a strong player union, right, the clubs can move like in a very like basically like monopoly without having them there. Because games like this means that it's more fatigue for them. They're not going to be in tip-top shape. They might even have to make opportunity cost decisions like league versus nation. This would now dilute national sports, which is where the soul of soccer, football came from just watching your team play the World Cup or stuff like that. So who's looking out for the players, and how are the players going to be managed in this new ecosystem is a question that not many people are asking, and the answer I think is going to startle a lot of people.
Yeah, I think like loads of great points we made in this, for the fact that the international football is going to die. There's effectively what's going to happen is there's going to be, and I agree with Stuart saying that the value transfer values go way down, and there's also this thing of like where's the ambition go? Because the ambition is always to win the league, to win the Champions League. They're the two things, okay? But then you're like Ronaldo, okay? You conquer one league, then you go, I want to do it in Juventus, I want to do it in Real Madrid, and then wherever you want to do next. Like the ambition to be the best, what is it? To just sign for one of these 12 teams, and that there'll be no loyalty. And there is, look, we can say whatever we want about loyalty now, but like
there's no loyalty now.
There is no loyalty now.
No, you almost need a Neymar or an Mbappe to not want to be a part of it. You need it isn't, I know, but you need somebody like that to turn around and say.
But I'm telling you, okay, this has been so many years working towards it. Like the players are so media trained that they can't speak against a club. Like players like that who had real heart and real soul are gone. Because from the age of 12, 13, they're being trained, say this, don't say that, don't say that. That no one really has the voice now. I can't think of the last time.
But Joe, I would also say that a lot of players, the ones which do say something, the different ones sometimes, a lot of fans get on their backs for saying things. Sometimes you then say, yeah, but why did you say it then? Why did you say that? Why did you say it this time? And we get on their back so much, and then it's like, yeah, but this guy's just shown personality. He's just gone out and he said something, and then everyone's like, yeah, but you can't say that. You can't say it now. And I think that's the, that fight, which is always on those sides,
Yeah. Do you think we're going to get any player to speak against this from any of these clubs?
No, I don't, because as I said in my opening part, you're likely to see the first £1 million a week footballer, which you just want to throw up, don't you? You just with everything that's going on in the world, you just want to throw up.
Antoine Griezmann is close, huh?
Well, yeah, but no. Well, Messi is, you know.
Okay.
You probably get
By the way,
anyway.
has anyone touched on the fact that Sky were all over this, going, "Oh, this is terrible"?
Mm.
You tried to make me pay 15 quid to watch Burnley versus Sheffield.
Yeah.
You ought to prick.
Yeah.
But Karthik, Sky know.
Fuck off.
Sky know. Without United and Liverpool in there, it's
It's
terrible.
gone. Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
The Premier League's
Exactly.
You can
It's
forget
everyone.
City.
They're all just
Yeah.
defending their own agendas. That's what they're doing.
Forget City and Chelsea. I don't get City, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham. I don't get it. It makes absolutely no fucking sense to me
I don't get it
whatsoever.
I mean-
do you really want to see Real Madrid and fucking Tottenham? Seriously?
I think it's really going to take the corporations, which we've given so much. That's why I asked the question now, who are the custodians? And by the way, the fans, we haven't done well, right? If a player's with the ball and they lose possession, we all yell at TV, like, we lost possession of our sport and we passed it on to other people.
Mm.
We knew they had nefarious reasons for taking it over, but for a short gain, we're fine. Like someone made the Chelsea example. For a gain in short term, we're fine.
Yeah.
So we lost. So it's going to take like an Adidas and Nike and Puma, whatever, and come and say like, you know what, we're not. Yeah, this is not going to happen. If any player plays in this league, we're going to, pull our sponsorship. Blah. But you think I think it's going to happen? It's probably not going to happen. You know why? Because they probably see a new revenue stream for themselves. So it's like on my Twitter, I put like the horse has since bolted away from the barn.
Watch, they'll set up their own streaming service for this.
Oh no,
They will. Yeah,
we have a
absolutely
great
right.
comment, a great reminder from Lee here. What are you thinking about Bayern's owner saying they want to it? No, they don't want to do it. I think that's what he meant to say. They don't want to do it. But Dortmund and Bayern came out immediately like we have no interest in this. I've been lucky enough to see a German 5th division match, and there was 5,000 people at the game. It was the most electric atmosphere I've ever seen in my entire life. It was. Sorry, go
By
ahead.
the way, also I've heard that PSG rejected the thing as well.
Yeah, been a bit cynical. It's for PSG and for Bayern, it's a problem. They don't want to pitch themselves in that kind of company week in, week out when they can beat fucking teams 6-0 or whatever. They don't want to do that. It hits their brand, doesn't it?
But like in fairness, if they're getting 150 whatever it was, a billion or a million or whatever it is they're getting from this, I don't think they'll give a shit if they're losing because the amount of money that they'd be generating. I think that's where it changes everything,
The makeup of the league as well, I think in Germany is slightly different. The way that the clubs move and the way that the clubs operate there. So I think it in terms of like an image problem, it would probably be an even bigger PR disaster for Bayern to come out after they had
I mean, why aren't Ajax involved?
Why aren't Ajax? Like Ajax and Celtic. I don't know why they're not involved as well. Do you know what I mean? Why?
Nottingham Forest are double European champions. Why they're not involved?
Spot on.
Aston Villa.
Yeah.
This is what a European super. If that's what you call it, why aren't these guys involved? Ajax in particular, Ben. We crikey when we were growing up, pal. Fucking hell.
Well, that'll be because they rejected any TV thing, didn't they? Back whenever that was, I can't remember what it was, but they had the option, and all their fans just decided, "Nah, fuck off."
There's something also telling about the reason I bought Ajax up actually because there's also something telling about it. They've merged, haven't they? The Holland and Belgian league have merged.
That's right.
Because they can't, and that's the reason I bought it because they can't they need to have the revenue, don't they, to succeed. I mean, you'll know a bit more about it than us, Kai, but that was damning. Really, when you think about it, 2 countries merging. It's quite damning.
But here's a question. I think Ugly Bear's trying to make a point here, but I'm going to put it as a question. If MUFC broke away from all leagues and played an average park team week in and week out, we would still watch it.
What's the point of that question?
I'm going to turn it into a question.
Sounds like a statement.
That's not. There's not that. What I don't understand his point with that question. What?
Yes, I'm going to turn it into the question of: can you still, if this happens, where does your loyalties lie? Would you see it as the breaking point with United, or would you power through? Basically, are you effectively done?
It's to answer though, because you look at for many of us, we've loved Manchester United for all our lives near enough. You know, some of us like Stu have been going for years and years and years. I think Stu said he had his season ticket for 30 odd years. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, you've got to think it's all right. What I think for a modern day football fan, it's probably easier for them to maybe then go, yeah, I can watch a Super League. For me, I think it will last 5 years.
Oh.
And I don't understand why we have to Americanize everything. What is this with this fucking NFL, NBA bollocks? There's no competition in the fucking things. Nobody bothers watching it outside of America. Yeah, they might have a few fans going to Tottenham to watch it in London or whatever, but the only time anyone gives a fuck's when the Super Bowl finals on. Anything else, no one gives a shit in this worldwide. What, you know? Why do we have to try in America? Look at the FA Cup final. Oh, we're trying to Americanize that. We've got all these bullshit singers on before it. Fuck off! Give me the fucking final. You know, just stop trying to fucking make everything modernized in an American mold. And you know, I think you make a great point, though, Joe. I think when you said about 5 years' time, they could be playing all over in America or wherever it may be, Saudi Arabia or whatever. And you could possibly be right, mate. But who the hell's going to fucking watch it? Yeah. And the main damning thing is English football is a heritage. It's football heritage. You know, what's going to happen to down below? What's going to happen to things like Scunthorpe United, Grimsby Towns?
They're going to die.
You guys for Trinity into the football league. You know,
Ben, I got sorry, I don't want to interrupt you mid-flow. It's just that we have a comment here from a fan, not a Man United fan, and this is one of those special shows where basically everyone's welcome. We'd even passingly let a Liverpool fan in. Boys, I'm a Millwall fan. Thanks for the FA Cup, by the way, 2003. So I want to ask you this: can you see any positive to this? And will you still be following Man United? I'm not saying Man United, even if they come back to England in the lowest tiers.
He makes a really good point.
Even if there was in the Conference South, mate, you know, or Conference North, as we would. Do you know what I mean? That would make it. The breakaway thing here, man. It's not, and it just tears me in two. It's like, mate, I just go and watch Manchester United under 23s, pal. I'll go watch the women's side.
Oh. I was about to say that. Did they put the under 23s in the Premier League to appease? Yeah, Ben, you're spot on. I have. It's a good question.
Because it's like we said, it's an incredibly special show, which means that we have another little bit late to the party, but he's allowed to do it as he is the boss man. And I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts on this. The wonderful Ben, thanks so much. Where are you? There you are. Welcome, my friend.
Can you hear me? So I've not got like any headphones or anything. Can you hear me? Okay? Or is that
yeah, we can hear you good. We can hear you good.
Yeah.
Joe, there's a super chat.
Can I just say, Ben, you nearly made me cry, mate, with your opening bit at the start. Yeah. Your passion and the way you spoke then was so articulate and spot on. I couldn't have put it any better myself. James, how you spoke about it in terms of what you said about, you know, when you have kids and you want to show them what real football is. You're not going to be able to. It really hit home for me as a dad, and you know I'm only a few years off you, James. Although apparently I look about 60 still. It hit home for me because my two children right now are learning the Bruno chant. They're learning the United chant. My daughter today was sat on my lap watching football, and although the United way isn't there yet, and they're not going to experience United how I've experienced United growing up and the win and the silverware, it really hit home what you said. Talking about grassroots, I don't think I really respect RB Bayes here every show, but I think people are really missing the point in the bigger picture of this and what it can actually mean. How Stu was talking as an older fan, Karthik, this show, from what I've just heard bits and pieces here and there, I haven't heard an awful lot because I've been doing my job. It's been fantastic, and I've put in the live chat some thoughts, and it's mainly been around finance. And the reason why I've done that is because I think we've got to bring all this back a little bit. And I think we've got to go back to transfer windows, and we've got to go back to money in football and the evolution of football clubs becoming businesses and how that changes. Now, there's one thing that fans have called for in their masses. That's directors of football, footballing people making footballing decisions. Now, in the past, boards have been made up of a mixture of people and haven't always been footballing people. You've also got people in there with business etiquette, but you can get along in this game as a football club. You can just be a football club and bring in 20, 30 million a season. That's enough. There's not a really overinflated market. You can do what you need to do on that money. There's no need to look elsewhere. Now you have people in football, the Glazers, these American football people, who are successful businessmen because they've built franchises. Now, the whole point of these franchises are to make money. Whether we like the fact we've got the Glazers or not, they are trying to build franchises within football to take the game and to take these football clubs to unparalleled levels. And those unparalleled levels can only be reached in wealth. They can't be reached in trophies. A Champions League doesn't mean anything if it doesn't have a £1 billion price tag on it for these owners. Just doesn't mean anything, which, as you said, Benny, is heartbreaking for a fan, because the Champions League, United winning a Champions League next season means more than that to me. Don't give a shit. Like, I don't give a shit about the money behind it. It means more than that to me. Now, the reason why I keep bringing up money is because I've also seen another tweet tonight, right, that says, and I just mentioned about the TV rights. It's being estimated that every club that joins the European Super League will receive over $425 million just for accepting the invitation. Again, we've got to put that in hindsight. If you win the Premier League and you compete in the Premier League, you get £110 million for that season. Yet for just entering this freaking tournament, you get $425 million. That's what it means to these owners. Now, the bigger question behind all of this, and the only reason why we're talking about the European Super League here, is because for years, the FA, the Premier League, UEFA, haven't compensated their talent. They've not compensated grassroots football. They haven't tried to elevate football. They've tried to line pockets of the riches. They've tried to line pockets of themselves. This is why these conversations are having. Why do you think it took so long for the women's game to even take off? It shouldn't take that long. Women in football, it shouldn't even be it should have been something that naturally happened with the evolution of football becoming the game it is today. But it's the same with women's boxing. Oh, the money's not in it. But the money can be in it. It's about putting the money in it. The problem is they're not. They're too in bed with these TV broadcasts. And Coffee made such a good point about Sky Sports. There is no one in this chat who doesn't believe that if the Premier League was on Amazon, it'd be fucking bigger than it currently is on Sky Sports and BT Sport. You need to make sport accessible for fans, not just fans of me, not just match-going fans, but fans around the world that want to watch their club. Having a fucking spending 80 quid a year or 80 quid a month, even not a year, 80 quid a month to watch the football on 2 different TV channels it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And it's out of the times when you've got things like Netflix that you pay £4 a month for. It's just a joke. The problem is there's not enough conversation happening behind the scenes to elevate the game with the current technologies and the way that the current customer and consumer, Karthik, you hit the nail on the head when you said it didn't take long for us to become a number on a spreadsheet. Absolutely fucking spot on. The problem is there's not enough consideration on how that they can plausibly do that without making us all lose our shit. There's just not enough. So why, instead of having these conversations about the European Super League, why aren't these people sitting down with the Premier League and going, this is how we elevate the Premier League. This is how we elevate League 2 to become more like League 1. This is how we elevate grassroots football. So we find Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi coming through at fucking Karthik's club. Why isn't there more of these conversations going on? Instead, they're just chasing anyone that comes to them with a good idea. That's not how good businesses work. So these good business owners who are thinking that lining the pockets is going to help them elevate the game, it's not. Because football comes from romance. Football comes from love. And this is part of the problem. UEFA have built a reform on their own. They've not involved the clubs. This is the problem. They've built a reform. They haven't spoken to the fans. They haven't spoken to the clubs. Most of us didn't know a reform was freaking happening until tonight when people started talking about the European Super League. That's how much of a joke it is. This is the problem with the game at the moment. Benny hit on the nail on the head. There's not enough respect to football fans. There's not enough respect to football players, to the football culture, to the passion of the game, to the romance. It's just not there. And do you know what the biggest example of this is? And I actually think Stu would agree with me here. It's the demise of the FA Cup. That is exhibit A of how football is dying. This weekend, we had one game on the BBC. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Spot on with the FA
All right.
Cup.
All right, Ben, get off that fence, will you?
The splinters are fucking killing me, man.
Yeah. We got a comment here from Jorge. That was
Shout out for the
beautiful,
super
Ben, by
chat, bro.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Crooked FIFA going to try to tell teams what to do so they won't benefit themselves. Really funny. Kind of sad that they don't take this more seriously. That they take this more seriously than racism. Yeah, that's a great point. Well made. Jesus, sorry, Ben. I'm actually shook from that. Was brilliant.
Do you know what I do? It's because as a business, I get it. I work in business. I work in business development. I freaking get it. I absolutely understand it. But again, when I look at businesses and I look at helping businesses, it's how you elevate them within the economy and within their sector, within their industry. These American owners are just trying to transform into something it doesn't need to be. This is my one, and the only thing I can relate it to is my only problem I've got with Eddie Hearn. He's trying to take in boxing too much inspiration from the UFC. Boxing needs reforming, but it needs reforming within what it is as a sport and in what it is within the UK boxing scene and how much, fighters are fighting and the love behind fighting and the roots of et cetera, et cetera. That's the only example I can give. That's my problem with it. Why not are these American owners looking at a club like United, looking at the Premier League and going, well, look, this is what's happening in NFL. This is what's happening in NBA. This is what DAZN are doing. By the way, DAZN are killing it in America, what they've done with boxing out there. They're absolutely killing it as a streaming platform. Why is no one else taking that initiative and that incentive and trying to mold the English game around that? Why ruin the English game? Just try and improve it. And this has been a problem as well with VAR, which I'm sure Carson can speak about as well.
But no, speaking on this, I think the reason why this is happening is because it isn't worth money to them to invest. Rather than basically sell high is what they're doing. They're just they took over the English League because they had one goal in mind, and that was to get into European Super League. Because in America, the MLS is run where no one gets relegated, everyone gets the same money. Because otherwise, why would they invest? That's entirely what's going on. And sorry,
question. So are Juventus and Real Madrid run by American owners?
No.
They're just dickheads.
No.
Yeah.
Real Madrid have elected presidents. They have elected presidents, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Stu. Here's the broader point. Look, money doesn't have nationality or citizenship, right? Yes, Americans have done a lot of business franchising. The issue here is, like Ben, he's very focused on the business side of it. It's supply and demand. That's every business operates on the principle of supply and demand. At the end of the day, this will live and die with supply and demand. This league would not kick off if people don't tune in and watch it. The question Joe asked, I think it was Joe that asked, it was like, okay, would you still watch? Would you support? And I think half the reason why the fans are angry right now is one, that this nonsense propped up. The second half is, if you look inside of you as a football addict and you're a United fan, you're not going to walk away from this club. You've had a dress rehearsal with the Glazers, and what did you do? You stuck with them. You bought I have a United thing hanging in my background. You buy United swag. You've been presented with this opportunity before. You haven't walked away. So why are you going to walk away now? People will still watch it. If United is playing any patch, I don't care if it's on Mars or in Old Trafford, United, and they can have a Starlink to watch the match, they will. They'll pay to watch. And this is the problem.
I think you're right there, Chicky. What I do think, though, I tend to agree with Benny. I
appreciate your support always, mate.
Yeah, about true fans, true lovers of the club will go and watch the women's team and the under-23s. That's what they'll go and do. Chico's right, though. A lot of fans won't turn their back from it, and that's really generational. Though you're going to have generations of fans that have got to make a decision that have been going since 1970, or they've been going a little bit like James, who's just been the Premier League era. So there's so many different age groups who've got to make a decision about what they do with this. And Ben also makes a point about DAZN. Eddie Hearn's all over DAZN, isn't he, Ben? And you're right about what he does with boxing, and he'll be all over this like a rash. Eddie Hearn will.
Can I just quickly say, by the way, my views, and Chuki made a point now, and I think you all got it. I was just talking about the Premier League aspect and United being a part of it. Obviously, we could go bigger and talk about the European clubs, but I'm just reflecting my thoughts on terms of where the Premier League is right now, and even how far behind it is from even other leagues in how they provide football for the fans and how much they even give a shit about their fans within the league as a general. So yeah, that was just me reflecting off on that, because I honestly feel like the Premier League is light years behind everyone else.
James was put into the private chat. I'm actually going to go to James now because he's been a lovely little, quiet little, well-behaved boy in the corner.
We like him that way, like Joe.
Yeah,
Joe.
we're a big fan of him being that way. But he asked, "Can I make a point?" So we're going to go to little James. He can make a little point.
I just wanted to build off what Stu says about the generations of fans making a decision, and that's what concerns me in the future, because my worry is that my generation of fans, a lot of United fans especially, it seems like they're just United fans for Twitter. They don't fully understand what football's all about. They watch football so that they can make compilations of Neymar doing stepovers afterwards. So they're going to absolutely lap this up, aren't they? They're going to think we get to watch all the best players in the same place at the same time, and we can tweet about it all the time. And that's what really worries me, is that, you know, you guys are lucky to be in a generation of people who truly respect football. But, you know, lower down the leagues, the younger fans are definitely going to be opposed to this. But United fans, where all they've ever known is money and success, why would they want to stay? That's the biggest concern I have.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to go to who wanted to go next. Sorry, Ben. Ben, I'm going to go to you now.
Sorry, can I just think of that? I'm going to go because I want to listen to this in the car, because this has been fucking brilliant. So I'm going to go so I can listen to this in the car, and this is your guys' show, not mine. So I'm going to head off. Just so you know, apparently there's going to be an announcement at 10:30 to what the European Super League actually is. So I don't know if you want to pad out a little bit and see what that announcement says. But if it goes on any longer and you just feel like you need to go off, then come off. But yeah, apparently 10:30 tonight there's going to be some sort of announcement around the European Super League.
Okay, we got nowhere to be. Perfect.
No lie, Joe, your Tinder's going off the hook, mate. Right, guys, you're smashing it. Thank you, lads. Thank you to everyone in the live chat as well. Take it easy, guys.
What was it, Ben? I'm going to come to you now. Go for it, my man.
Just to pick up on James's point about the younger fans, my son's 7 years old, and I've been taking him to Old Trafford since he was 2. You know, to like, I started him off with like under 20. 23 games and that, you know, like Old Trafford, we're going for free and that. And my main worry is, like, in a decade's time, for argument's sake, what Manchester United going to be? What's the state of English football going to be? Because he loves going to Old Trafford. You know, my son, he buzzes off it. He suffers. He's autistic, and he doesn't like large crowds. But football is the one place where he can be himself. And I'm just worried that we're going to lose that next generation. Because who's to say that this Super League is going to take off? The next thing you know, because we're owned by Americans, they're going to franchise this team and do like they do in America and start moving the teams about all over the place. Man United might relocate it to somewhere in Arizona, for example. That's another fear of mine. If this goes ahead and then, you know, but I'll probably go way off track there. But my point is, like, is anybody thinking of the future? Is anyone thinking of the up-and-coming youngsters that we want to get into the game? We want to get involved in the game? And it comes back to the whole grassroots thing as well. Is if we do move into a European Super League and fans are not buying into it, people are not going to stadiums and all that lot, who's going to inspire the next generation? Are we going to find the next Wayne Rooney in my son's generation and the generations afterwards? You know, it's not just about the here and now, it's about the future as well. And I don't think people are looking at the future and the way it'll affect fans and possible future world-class talent that we can develop, not just for clubs like Manchester United and clubs down the lower leagues and everything, but for the English national side as well. You look at the national game, we at the minute we're bringing through so many good youngsters. It's like we've got some really good crops coming up, and my main fear is, are we going to lose this all now to this European Super League where, you know, it's no relegation, no sense of competition? it just reminds me of school leagues now, where you know there's no winner, there's no loser, and this is what this feels like. You know, there's no sense of competition. It's like it's all about the money, and it's just damaging, mate. It's damaging, and it's just I just harp onto it. It's the fans that are suffering. The fans are going to suffer. They don't care about their money. And
speaking on that, because keyword is still here, the Millwall fan. The thing is, English football won't be able to cope with the loss of the big six. They all have the drawing power in English football, so we're going to struggle without you. While you're here, keyword, and I hope you're still watching, can you give us what concerns you have as supporting a championship team, Millwall? If this goes through, is there a concern with you that you might eventually go into non-existing? You know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So please keep your comments in. I think Kai, you have a thought as well.
Yeah. No, I just want to say, I think with the point in terms of like moving teams around, I remember, I think in the MLS a year or two ago, I can't remember which teams it was. It might have been Seattle or something. One of those teams. They also tried an owner bought the club and he tried to move the team to another city completely, and everyone went buck wild from that specific city, and then they reversed it eventually. So teams are like effectively trying to do this stuff anyways, like, you know, on a you know, yeah. And also, you know, I you know, in terms of talking about the magic of football, I don't know if just it's a coincidence or if it's a weird thing or if it's just the game going into different eras, but or even if it's linked to something, you know, but I think if you remember watching someone like Ronaldinho play football, there was a stage where there was joy. There was just random joy, you know, and no one criticized flair and all this stuff. Now we're in an age of stats. We're in an age of, but did the trick pay off? But did this pay off? And I think it's been like a steady thing. And I think this is just another manifestation of how football's kind of developed to being a little bit mechanical, you know, players looking for, it's, you know, the way that we're judging players is now based on something that is not football. You know, I get really happy when I see someone flick something over someone's head, even if they maybe give the ball away right after, but it's that sort of beauty which made the separation between me watching my favorite stars and me just being a normal guy, something which I can't replicate. The manipulation of the ball, you know, things. It's just a weird thing that I just noticed, you know, in terms of how you view and how you digest football. It's kind of changed for me as, you know, time has gone by, I think.
Before we get a comment in, I'm getting annoyed, if I'm being honest, because I sometimes don't think you're great coming in like that, but I do think there's a bit of trolling going on here because where is this comment? It's Jacob Court, I don't know what that's about. Of course, I do. I can imagine seeing Barca or Juventus every week will evolve the game to be better. I'd rather watch Barca versus Juventus than Burnley versus Wolves. Okay, there's a couple of problems with that. Okay, first of all, it won't evolve the game because familiarity breeds contempt. If that game is not special anymore, for example, we have Chelsea are playing Real Madrid in the semi-final of the Champions League coming up. Okay, this is the first time they've ever played each other in the Champions League. Okay, so that could be a new rivalry born. But if they're playing each other twice a season, it's gone. Do you know, every game is special, which means no games are special. And then secondly, like if we're not playing Wolves, we're not playing Burnley, or we're not playing the teams in the FA Cup and the League Cup, we're a huge draw for so many teams. Like if, for example, we played Crawley Town a couple of years ago, they played in Old Trafford. Like that, the revenue we got from that game funded them for an entire season, basically. You know, us being taken out of consideration completely is going to, and not just us, but Arsenal, all the big clubs, is going to destroy football, destroy the lower league, destroy English football. Like there's no way around that. The thing is, don't be offended. It's just a debate. It's not a debate. I'm sorry, because you're making no points which are worthy of being defined as a debate. Because there is, I'm doing my best to try make sense of what is going on here, but there is no sense of what's going on here. There is no positives to come from this other than wealthy people getting more wealthy, and that's it. Sorry, Stuart, you have a point you want to make. You're on mute, by the way.
I wanted to touch on what James said, really, and it's a bit sad because it kind of affects my age group. My age group of fan have been going since the 70s has become less and less important. And the view I'm going to offer is what James spoke about, Twitter fans. My lad is 20 and he's FIFA mad. And unfortunately, whenever I'm going to his bedroom and he's playing FIFA and he's talking to his mates or whatever, he's playing Manchester United versus Real Madrid or Real Madrid versus Barcelona or whoever. And the problem is that those are the fans that these owners of these clubs are targeting. They're not targeting me anymore. I'm a dinosaur to them. And it's like Ben's young son, his 7-year-old son. I went when I was 7 to my first game away to Wolves. And I remember vividly the excitement I have. And Ben's lad has that same excitement. And the problem, I suppose, is that they're looking at future generations rather than today and yesteryear. And so the history of the club, unfortunately, will kind of disappear because, and I hate to say it, but so will some of the historical moments within football will get forgotten about. Things that really mean deep into the heart, such as Munich and Heysel and Hillsborough. Those things will get forgotten about when you're in a European Super League. You won't be able to talk to rival fans about what's really at Bradford, the fire at Bradford.
Yeah.
These will all get forgotten about. And that's the problem. I always talk about shape, our team shape, and it's all done on a FIFA thing, you know. And unfortunately, I just believe that the way football is, clubs are looking at the future generation. And it's sad because honestly, it's my generation that's going to get kicked out and forgotten about. I didn't mean to bring up Munich or disasters. I'm just saying those are really important to football fans. It doesn't matter who you support. Liverpool fans get behind us on our anniversary like we get behind them on their anniversary. It's important to football fans. You come together as a community and a family, and you can't come together with... We've got nothing in common with Real Madrid, have we? What we got in common with them as fans?
No, but like it's a thing of it's a special occasion when it happens, you know what I mean? And it has to remain special by it being rare. Okay, fine. We have PSG in the group stage. That won't mean too much because 2 teams go through. We didn't go through, but whatever. We had Juventus the year before. That's fine. Okay, they're not the most important game. But then when you get the knockout game, that's when history is made. That's when new rivalries are born. That's when, for example, Bayern Munich beating Bayern Munich to win the treble. Like that iconic moment will never happen again now. And that rivalry,
You're right,
yeah.
How sad is that, though, Joe? I mean, how sad is that? You know, I was fortunate enough to be there.
Yeah, wow. You know, I remember you said it before.
I was fortunate, and
sorry. Go ahead, Stuart.
It's hard to say.
I just wanted to ask.
Go on.
Go
Kai.
ahead, Kai.
Go on, Kai. Yeah.
I want to ask you, Stu. Stu, like you know, you're a person that looks at the game with a tactical mind as well. Just to think about the practicality. How many types of football will we be able to see in a European Super League? Like, how varied is this thing going to be? Like, to be honest, is everyone just going to throw caution to the wind and just say, "High line, let's go"?
Do you want to know what's going to happen? Do you want to know? I think it's going to happen as well, all right? I guarantee you there will be a rule change as well, that there will be some way if you score a certain amount of goals, you get an extra points, like they have in rugby. If you get more than 5 tries, you get a bonus point. If you win by this, if you lose by this point, you get a bonus point. I guarantee you.
There'll be no VAR. There'll be no VAR. VAR will go out the window. There'll be, I would imagine the games will be relatively end to end, because what have you got to lose if you can't drop out the league? What have you got to lose? If you're earning 450 million quid, does it really matter where you finish in that league?
Yeah.
But then
okay. We got this question, sorry, from Michael McDonald. Why don't we play the same teams over and over each year in the EPL? Why are you saying it's going to be boring in the ESL? Because Yeah. First of all, we don't play the same teams. Yeah,
No, we don't.
every year. Yeah.
No, not Norwich. We're playing Norwich next year.
Yeah.
We didn't play this year.
Well, we're not playing them next year. Be another
Yeah.
team.
And also, quite simply, for example, Chelsea don't play the same way that they did a few months ago. So it all changes. You know, a manager gets sacked, Big Sam shows up, you're not playing the same way. It's totally different. You know,
You're definitely not playing the same way.
But see, football.
Love that one.
Premier League, certain teams play a certain way. Then we've got our League Cup. You're playing lower league divisions that will come at you with everything they've got because they want to beat they want to be the underdog. They want to beat the top teams. You know, they want to have their 5 minutes of fame. It's the same with the FA Cup, and then you've got the Champions League, Europa Leagues. You know, each of these different competitions bring a different type of style of play. You know, not one game's the same, but if you're going into this one competition, because the Premier League will kick us out, because
we're gone.
Same team again. Boring. It'll be the same.
And in terms of greatness as well, on what basis are you going to judge players' greatness on? You know, I mean, there's players which literally eat off the World Cup, for example, eat off the Champions League. Moments in the Champions League or moments in certain type of cups. How are you going to crown them? How do you say, this guy is the great? He's the greatest player, or he is this? You know, at what stage? You know, if I'm not in the Super League, I'm not going to be like, this guy's a great player.
Yeah, I think you already answered that, though, Kai. You gave some remarks later on. I thought that was interesting when you said that. You know, when I used to watch football, I used to watch stylistically for things that made me happy. And now it's all about stats and XG and whatever the case might be. Now,
guys, I'm just as we're still waiting for a statement. We'll give it to 20 to quarter at the most. If we don't get a statement, we'll call it a night. Okay. And Ben will do. I'm sure he'll do a special episode in the morning if it gets released. But we'll just give it 10-15 minutes because you know.
Tuchel, I love what you just said, Tuchel, because that is what football's about.
Yep.
Everything you just said epitomizes a football fan, doesn't it, Ben?
Yep.
When we stood in the away end, I stood in the away end in 1988 at Anfield watching our great club. I scalped a ticket.
Yeah. Sorry, Stu. Just some of these comments are annoying me. It's the evolution of football. It's not the evolution of football. It's not, because an evolution makes it better. This is not making it better. And if you're saying it in a sort of way of like, it's natural that this is happening, I can agree with you in that, but it's not positive. This isn't a positive change. You know?
It might not be an evolution, but it is where it's a trend. And let me just tie two things together quickly when I was talking about Kai's thing. This obsession with stats and XG and whatever. People, when I grew up, people didn't talk about XG, and that's not how you talked about a player. You didn't, you would look at that George Best and Maradona and talk about XG, right? You wouldn't do that. But on what wings has this culture flown on? It's flown on the culture of the fans, because fans have now gotten into fantasy leagues. That's why they need these stats now, right? Right. And that's what made them important and consumable, right? Because we're all in fantasy leagues. They want to win prizes. You want to be able to banter with your mate, blah blah blah. So one thing begets the other, and it's a series of unfortunate events and unintended consequences that kind of got us here.
Yeah. It's a revolution. Actually, it's not an evolution. It's a revolution. That's what you've got. But. Yeah. I'm interested. James knows I don't like stats. I'm with you, Tuchel. I don't agree with stats. I've said to James before, I know James, it doesn't matter to me. My era isn't about stats. Yeah. My era is about getting really excited when Norman Whiteside smashed Stevie McMahon at Anfield in '88, or Gordon Strachan blowing a kiss to the cop. That's the type of thing that I've grown up with. I don't get that anymore. And, I love the modern game, but is it really, it just doesn't. Well,
the bite is gone. If you look at it, for example, and keyword, you're still here. Thanks so much, man, for being here. And please, we really want to know your thoughts on what you think is going to happen with Millwall. So if you can give us those thoughts, we'd really appreciate it. for example, who was it? Phil Foden calling out Mbappe. I saw that, I was like, that's cool. You don't see that. You'd like that is gone. And then he immediately apologized. John, he said it was a mistake. And I was like, oh lads, come on. What's the problem in just having a bit of balls and being like, not like it's been so long since we've had someone like that. What?
They're both young. They're like 19 and 20 and whatever. Of course, if I think I would literally do the same thing that he did and not be apologetic for it whatsoever. Yeah. And I'm sure if the guy that I'm bantering was like me or was understanding, he would also reply to me and be like, actually, I'm gonna see you next week, bruh. That's what I don't know why it was such a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, because players aren't players anymore. They're products. They have teams behind them. They have like a whole Twitter team, a whole Facebook team. Their agent has their own team. It's the game has long left us for a very long time.
Sorry, Keyword just came back with what I was asking. I think we're going to struggle. This is about Millwall for anyone who just tuned in. I think we're going to struggle. Honestly, we don't have much money, and a lot of that will be stripped, especially when we get promoted to the Premier League. Okay, due to the Championship being much easier. Yeah, interesting thoughts.
No, that's interesting because didn't Millwall didn't they have quite an investment in a few years ago? I'm talking in the 90s. It would enable them to build that stand, didn't it? Was it the early 2000s? What happened to that investment then?
There you go.
Perhaps Keyworth can tell us.
Yeah,
they've had investments, haven't they? I'm sure they have.
Jonathan Ball, thanks so much, John. I don't think I've seen you here before, so thanks so much for joining us. And guys, we have lots of people who are tuning in and have been tuning in for the entirety of the show, which is hugely appreciated. And if you could like the video as well, that would be great too to help us out. I'm a United fan. I've supported my club since the days of Doc and Sexton. I've been a season ticket holder. If United do this, I will turn my back on my club because they have turned their back on me. And Jonathan, you are, I completely respect what you're saying, and you're not the only one. And fair play to you. And I know how difficult that can be. And you're not turning your back on them. You're not, because like you said, they've done it to you. You can't expect to take shit from someone constantly and then just put up with it, I agree. James has put into the chat. Hopefully we'll hear what Neil and Barry, Doc Barry, hopefully I'm sure Ben will have them on during the week and get their thoughts. I'd love to know what their thoughts on this as well. So you got back to that. I'll be honest, it was a bit before my time. I'm quite a young fan. Fair play to you. So I'm not. Are you allowed to be up this late? So I'm not sure about the investment, but we got new owners recently. Yeah, you did. But I need to kind of. It's going to be difficult. I'm going to go round table, okay? If this happens, if it's announced in 2025, we'll say we're joining the Super League. Where does that leave you with Man United? I'm going to go to you first, Kai, because now you're beside me.
It leaves me in a position where I have to ask myself whether I can handle not watching United play football or not. And that's a tough one because in my life I've made some crazy excuses to get out of things just to watch United play football. So it's going to be a very tough one for me to kind of look at, but yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, because turning your back, I that thing has a feeling coming from, someone who is very close to it, who is, who can feel it like that. For me, turning my back would mean deleting the app, not watching games. That's the extent of it, as well. So it's a tough one. I haven't really answered your question, but I don't know, Joe.
In fairness, I don't really expect anyone to answer it, but I just need. I feel like it's something that needs to be asked. And Ugly Bear, your comments. We don't fear change, especially when it comes to football. We love when they actually say we're going to do something for the positive. This isn't for the positive. That's why we don't like it and we're completely against it. Stuart, I'm going to come to you last, actually, on this one. I'm going to give you time to mull over it, all right?
Yeah.
So, Ben, I'm going to go to you on this one now. Where does this leave you if this happens?
Good question, mate. All I can think of is like there used to be like an advertisement poster outside the United Museum, and it used to be a headline: "The greatest football story ever told." And it'll be absolutely heartbreaking if we turn back on the greatest footballing story ever told. This club is steeped in tradition and history, and the same with them not down the East Lancs Road there, Liverpool, which equally surprised me. Another massive football club steeped in tradition and history. You know, we didn't need a sugar daddy, an oil-rich sugar daddy to give us some history. We built ourselves in Liverpool. We built that up through years and years and years of putting in hard work, hard graft. And, you know, arguably both are the club of the people, you know, both working class football backgrounded clubs. And we're just going to turn our backs on it. It's heartbreaking. And it's like, what do you do? It's like, what would happen to I could say I'll go watch the women's side, fair enough, but what would happen to our reserves teams and everything? Would they still be allowed to compete in Premier League too? If we turn our back on whatever? I don't know, mate. It's a difficult one to answer, but we can't do it. We're the most successful team in, well, Liverpool could argue they're the most successful team in English football now. They won a couple more trophies, but we won the lot. We're the only English football club that's won the absolute lot. We've got the entire collection, you know, and to turn our back on that history will be absolutely heartbreaking. And I just can't do it, mate. I cannot stand by it and see us just destroy our history like that. We're better than that. We're Manchester United. We're supposed to be, like Gary Neville said, we're supposed to be held to the highest of standards. We're supposed to be setting them standards. And I'm sorry, but our owners have just absolutely trashed that over the last few hours since this announcement of putting pen to paper, supposedly for this European Super League. It just doesn't sit right, mate. And I love this football club with all my heart, but this is heartbreaking, mate. And it's, I don't know. I know people in the comments saying it's not happened yet. You know, yes, you're right. It's not happened yet, but just the thought of it is just truly heartbreaking. And I just don't know, mate. It's just really pulls at the heartstrings, pal. I need a clearer head to think about it, to be honest with you.
I think I have a glass of whiskey. That always clears my head. Or a bottle. Keyword, you absolute legend. Boys, it's been a pleasure despite not being my out fan. We'll definitely be tuning in to streams as you seem like good lads who are up for debate. Hope this goes well for you in the end. Thanks so much, Keyword. Pleasure having you, my man. Hopefully see you back here eventually. Chuki, I'm going to go to you now. Where do you stand if this happens?
I think I'm just going to take the cynical view here. I think I'm very disappointed. Yes, it hasn't happened. The rubber hasn't hit the road yet, but just the fact that it's a very, very, high possibility and is being considered is heart-wrenching. I think the central issue to me is that I have to look at me, introspectively. I have to really look at me and protect myself. Right, I have to. That's why I was during the show. I was trying to make an effort to deliberately say, "Hey, at the end of the day, whose responsibility is to own my relationship with football is mine." Right. The Glazers are vampires. They've been vampires for a very long time. This is just another fang they just decided to show. Right. And it's not surprising to me, and anybody that's been supporting United for a long time shouldn't be surprising to them. Will I stop watching United? I don't think, addiction kills, right? So, football is a hell of a drug. I don't think I would ever stop watching United. I don't see myself just turning my back. And I've told myself things I've heard today. I've told myself that, I'm just going to watch the youngsters. I'm going to watch just the women. Yeah, just because of our rocky relationship with the Glazers, but none of that has ever materialized. So I'm not going to sit here on video and lie to you. When I know, United is such a pull. It's such a pull in a lot of our lives. It's central to some people get buried in United coffins. When they give birth to kids, they put a United ball right in their hands. It's central to, not just our 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 ability to consume digital data. It's now a central part of us and how we live. So it's hard asking me to turn my head away. At the end of the day, a lot of fans walk away, but the bottom line would be not even nearly enough.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. James, coming to you now.
I'm gonna give an analogy, and it might be a bit of a weird one. You have to let me know what you think afterwards, and then I'll tell you sort of what my plans would be. But if United were to go ahead with this and be like the founding fathers of this new age of football, do you not think you'd feel a bit like a mum whose kid had just been arrested for murder? You got this thing that you've loved for so long, and that's been the main focus of your life for as long as you can remember, and now you can't help but be ashamed of them. I just like you'll always love them, but you can't help but be ashamed of them, and I think that's what it'll be like being a United fan. Do you know what I mean? I think you can let me know if that's a stupid thing to say or not.
No, that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
But moving forward, I mean, it's easy to say it now. I don't know how true it'll be because, like I said, United's been the main focus of my life for a long time. But I just in my ideal world, not ideal world, but in my head, I feel morally that I'd have to, at least for a few years, just sack it off completely. Go and support my local teams for the few years that they're still alive. I think the club I work at, Baseford, I'd put my energy into that. I'd go and watch Nottingham Forest and Notts County. Just enjoy football while it's still alive, and then when they inevitably die, I'll rethink whether I enjoy football anymore. I think, but that, like I said, it's all hypothetical now. It's all well and good saying this, but I don't know whether I would actually do it. But I just feel like that's what I'd have to do. I'd have to support football rather than United.
Yeah, really, really well said, James. Really well said. I don't think we're going to get any updates or anything, but Stuart, we'll go to you now for your closing thoughts. If this goes ahead, this plans, where do you stand with Man United?
It's a difficult one to answer. I made my peace years ago that money was always going to destroy football. And I suppose, as I said on my opening statement, I saw it coming. As soon as you float any business, you just open the floodgates to any unscrupulous person to buy shares and eventually take ownership. I'm torn a bit like Ben, and I'm torn like everybody about what it does mean for the club and where our club's going to be in 10 years' time. What types of supporters are we going to have in 10 years' time? Are we going to be robots? Is the football going to be robotic? Are we going to be Americanized or franchised? And I just feel right now, maybe a bit like Benny, I maybe need to just take a step back and have a think about what it does mean and whether or not I just, do I give up my season ticket? Do I want to watch Real Madrid all the time? Today's game of football, as frustrating as it was in the first half, it was a proper game of football. A team came to frustrate us and we found a way to beat them. And I don't want to see flouncy posers all the time. I want to see good hard men like Wood, giving our centre halves a bit of a doing. And the European Super League, it's about posers, isn't it? Everything's about posers. You'll probably have designer strips, designer kits, not what the fans would like, but there'll be some kind of designer kit that, I don't know, Gucci make. Football's going soft. And this evolution or revolution, whatever you want to call it, it's just going soft. And I do worry about what happens to our under-23s and our under-18s. If we are removed from the Premier League structure, are we removed wholly as a club? Or is it just our first team? Nobody knows. So I think today's raised more questions, obviously, than answers. But could I turn my back on the club that I've supported all my life? I doubt it.
Yeah.
But it's how I guess it's how I support them moving forward. I guess that's the real question. And I don't know right now.
That's fair. That's fair. And just Hammer's coming in. This isn't Americanism. This is elitism. You all understand every American isn't a rich white billionaire, right? Yeah. Sorry.
I'm not having to go Americans.
Yeah. No. We've been kind of saying across the board. Hammer, we weren't having to go at America. Do you know what I mean? At American football fans or anything like that. It's the franchise-ness of it. It's
the franchise.
It's the ML. Yeah, that's what we meant by that. It's that they're copying that way of doing it. So it's not, no one's having to go at American fans or American anyone. It's just that brand is being moved over here is what we meant by that. So no offense was meant. If I was trying to offend you, Hammer, you'd motherfucking know.
Yeah.
Guys, it's I think we'll call it a day there. And Fred put in a comment up here. Longest All for United stream ever. If there was a world record, we just broke it. And I have been at work all day. I had no sleep last night as well. So it's been fun.
Joe, can I say one more thing before you?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
I saw a random tweet which said that it's incredible that the teams that want to be a part of the Super League are all sitting in very compromising type of positions in the league, for example. And what they want to do is make sure that they don't find themselves sitting 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and it actually meaning something, which I just found that quite interesting because I was like, oh yeah, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be there. I get it.
John Silk just commented, football bloody hell, name of the trophy. These are two expressions from one game. Tell 1,000 stories from more of a century of love and tradition. Neither will be possible with this new concept. Absolutely, John. Absolutely. Sorry, just didn't like the term, guys. Absolutely, Hammer. It was just, I think we were just making it easier for ourselves, but we didn't mean it that way. So apologies all around. Please tell all the other 500 million Americans that we're sorry, okay? Ugly Bear, brilliant debate, Joe. Please don't be upset. It is why this show is the best on YouTube. I'll take that. Thank you very much. But guys, yeah, this isn't what we ever wanted to talk about. I feel that we will be discussing this a lot more, but you have stuck with us throughout this whole night. We've loads of viewers in, so please help by liking and sharing this around and also subscribing to the channel. This has been an awful day. It's an awful day for us, but it's an awful day for football. And I don't know where we go from here. I don't know what happens from now. This has been what I've feared for the longest time with football, and it's what has kind of made me fall out of love with it over the last couple of years. And because we don't matter, and that's it. There's no positives to finish on. All we could say is that was a cool fucking dummy from Bruno Fernandes today against Burnley, wasn't it? That was a cool dummy. That was class. That was proper class. And then Donny with the assist. So that's the best I can do on that.
70-yard sprint from Donny. That was. He was 20 yards behind Bruno.
Yeah.
When Bruno sets off, he was 20 yards behind him.
Donny, yeah, he's some player. That Donny. He'll get his chance. We'll be back to Donny debates in the coming weeks. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, keep in touch, and we'll see you all soon. But make sure to give the guys a follow on their social medias and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hopefully next time you see our faces, we'll have better news. But until then, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for sticking with us for close to 2 hours. Wasn't expecting this at all. And have a good rest of your weekend.